edition of Singles Only Podcast. My name is Paul Farahvar. I'm your host. On this episode, we have joining me with no voice of reason, comedian Sammy Obeid. If you haven't already, subscribe, give us a review. This podcast is up for the best podcast in the Chicago Reader, so give us a vote if you can in the chicagoreader.com. Go vote at best of, or I created a little cheat sheet. If you go to bit.ly/reader singles, the R and S is capitalized. You can go directly to the page and vote for us. I'm also nominated for best stand-up comedian, so vote for me there as well. Same thing, bit.ly/reader Paul. Reader and R and P are capitalized. Got upcoming shows all over the place. Vegas, maybe Detroit if it isn't canceled, Chicago, and in Florida. And then, of course, the online shows, which are coming up. Yeah, that's it. Let's get right into it. Our guest is one of my favorite human beings. Hilarious guy. We've done shows online. We did shows in the real world, all the way from the Bay. Give it up for Sammy Obeid, everybody.
Hey, how's it going, Paul? What's up, man?
That was an amazing entrance. Hey, Sammy, for those of you that are listening, he came out of a door/closet. We do it up here. We do it the way you want to see, right? I don't know.
Hell yeah.
Sammy, you are crushing it in the online comedy world. I feel like you're doing a show right now in another room while this is happening.
That is correct, sir.
Literally killing it. And the thing is a lot of people shit on online shows, but all the ones I've done with you have been awesome. You guys have it down. It's a great thing. I know you and I, like myself, you hate that we have to do it, but you made the best of it, and you've done a great service to all of us. Thank you so much for that. I want to say that up top.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
That being said, how are you still single?
Well, it's the pandeezy.
Yeah.
The old personal pandemic, as I call it. I became single in August of 2019.
Okay.
And I was like, dude, 2020 is going to be a great year. My Netflix show is going to come out.
Right.
I'm just going to be living that dope ass single life.
Yeah.
And end of 2019, I wasn't even trying to hook up. I wasn't even trying to date. I was just like, I'm going to focus on work, stay focused on the grind, release some videos, build up that web presence, and then once my show hits, I'm going to use that to flex and get some of these higher end options. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. By the way, I know this is being broadcasted to singles. I don't call people options once I know their names. So
very classy of you. Yeah, I know. Once you get bigger names, you get bigger. You have more options, and those options turn out to have names sometimes, which is good. But that's
once hooked up with someone named Option. It was actually such a coincidence.
And that didn't work out. It sounds like.
They didn't want to settle down for whatever reason.
No, they had the name. You had to lean into it. What? So you said August 2019. How long was that relationship that you were in?
I was with that particular individual for about 3.5 years, which actually was my longest relationship. Yeah, she's great. We're still friends, and we've hung out many times since. It's just that we kind of officially ended it at that point because we realized we were kind of going in different directions in life.
Sure. So. Are you because of the pandemic in the Bay too? Your California's kind of super shut down. Have you met people at all during the pandemic in real life? Or?
No, not at all. So really what happened was, like I said, wasn't dating at all. And then the pandemic hit, the Netflix show came out, and I was getting all these DMs. Hey, you're cute. Let's hang out.
Right.
And I was like, hell yeah. When I get back to LA, let's do this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then Gavin Newsom's like, no, don't do it.
None of that.
And then I ended up quarantining in the Bay Area with my family because I didn't want to keep going and coming back. And there was a lot of specific family drama here, but long story short, we're all single in this household now.
Okay, fair enough.
So I came up here to stay with my mom. So basically, I only go back to LA. My apartment's in LA, but it's been just gathering dust. I have hardly been there.
Right.
But you know, and there was like a few people who were like, hey, you know, like let's hang out when you get back to LA. I just didn't follow up on it because I one, just not really in the mood, and like two, I don't know, it's just like it's just a weird time to date. Like I would only
Yeah.
want to go on a date with somebody if I really already feel like I have a genuine interest in them. Like I don't want to
Right.
go like out, you know, get some ice cream to go just to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I mean, like, you could theoretically, if you do end up liking someone or you meet somebody, whether it's DMs or whatever, we'll get into
Yeah.
that in a second.
Yeah, yeah.
At least in California, it's nice enough outside where you can go out and like go for a walk or,
It
you know,
is.
do
Absolutely.
stuff.
In fact, this is one of my favorite times of year in
It's
California because
cheapest dates too, right? You're like,
so
oh,
cheap.
too bad it's all closed. We can't go to the club. You know.
Yeah, 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 exactly. Like, hey, parks. Yeah,
You said it's a
parks,
favorite
man.
time of the year. Why is that?
It is well because California's winters are like your you know like spring, you're like cool summer days, you
Hmm.
know. In this the summers here, I mean traditionally they're nice, but like we've had the fires now, so like summer has now not become our time to shine. So really, where we shine is in the winter because it's like the weather's
Sure.
just like super moderate and pleasant. Um,
So you haven't met anyone that you like want to go to a walk and enjoy this
No,
pleasant weather?
unfortunately not. I mean, to be honest, I've been a little bit distracted myself. Like personally, I had a really rough year last year, like on a personal level, and I was just not interested in like going on dates at all. Before that, it was because I was like, I'm too focused on work. And then
Right.
there was hardly any work to focus on. I was just feeling like myself not in the right place. And the thing is, I know a lot of people don't live by that. They're like, I don't care if I'm like, not, I'm feeling like you know, below the weather or like not myself. I'm gonna go on a date and feel better. Like I'm not like that. I
Yeah,
need to be at my best, you know, if I'm actually gonna be on a date with somebody.
that makes sense. No, it does. Are you at least trying to meet people? At least maybe not in person, but at least like on the apps and stuff like that or DMs?
I'm on the apps and like I'll occasionally like scroll and swipe, but like I'm pretty picky, like and you know, a lot of people on the apps like they'll either and this I'm sure this is guys and gals everybody like they kind of use the same either same lines or they have like something tacky about their profile, whether it's like hey I'm fluent in sarcasm or spoil me, like things like that just are like complete turnoffs to me.
Yeah.
So it's got to be like original. I think I haven't been on Tinder in a long time. I think Tinder just kind of like fell apart. Um, but Bumble like the cool. Oh yeah, it's cool. Like you know, the woman hits the guy up first. That is cool. But like, I'm just being like super picky. Like if I don't like the opening line, I just don't respond.
Yeah.
So I don't respond to probably 99% of messages.
Does it say that you're a comedian on there too? Because then they try to be
No,
funny.
God
Okay.
no. Oh my God, no. No, no,
Well,
no,
yeah,
no,
in
no.
LA and
Yeah.
California, you don't put that there.
No, and that's the other thing because it's like the tricky thing about dating, at least for me, is because historically, with the exception of my last girlfriend, who I did meet on Tinder,
Oh, wow.
historically,
The one
yeah,
that lasted 3.5 years?
yep,
Oh,
yep,
wow. You
yep.
guys should do the commercial.
Yeah,
Well,
I know,
maybe not
seriously.
anymore.
And I mean the cool thing about that relationship, she had no idea that I was a comedian. You know, at this point I had already been on TV and stuff and she had no idea. She just was interested anyways, which is why I was like so genuinely interested in her because I was like, "Oh, she's the real deal." So, that was cool because before that all of the girlfriends that I had I met through comedy.
Well,
So,
when you say you don't reveal that you are on these apps, what do you say? You just say entertainer, or what? How do you reveal it? Because
yeah,
that's a
I mean,
big
on
part of your
I think
life.
on Bumble it says motivational speaker because it's a technicality. You know what I mean? It's
That
like
is
that's
not the
technically
same thing.
we well,
That's
it's
even
I mean
worse.
we motivate people to laugh, you know, and
Not to
I
speak. In fact, it's the opposite. We don't want them to speak.
yes, there's many things you can be motivated to do, and we do a certain select few of those things. I mean, I would argue that we're funny motivational speakers. We're even better than the regular kind. But yeah, I mean, I put that just because I feel like that to me that's like the most honest way of saying it without saying it.
Sure.
And then the thing is, my Instagram's linked on there, so like if you
They can
just
go.
look at the
Right.
Instagram, you see what's up.
Okay.
Um, but the thing is, comedian to me, that's just like losing before you even have a chance. Yeah,
Especially
yeah,
on two fronts. On one
yeah,
side, in LA, it's like, ugh, like if you're not someone that's huge, they're like, why are you even bother saying you're a comedian? And the other
right.
side, then they feel like they have to be fun. Like when you're not in California, they feel like they have to be funny to you, and it just you get a turn off situation right away. Or like,
Totally, and then there's the stigma of entertainer, of like road dog, just going out there and meeting all these different people. I
yeah,
feel like that's kind of the vibe that a lot of people get when they see comedian, or just like, oh, this I'd never heard of this person, so obviously they're not funny.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
it's a lose lose. But
yeah,
then if you're trying to be honest on those apps and you're trying to
yeah,
be make a connection, it's
yeah.
kind of tough too. It's a double edged
Yeah,
sword.
but establish it relatively quick. I'm definitely not the kind of person who would say keep a secret for like a long time. Like for instance, my sister's on Bumble and she's 39 years old, but her age says 29, and
Oh, that's smart.
she doesn't drop that until like 3 weeks in, and I'm like, that's not fair. You got to
That's
drop
not a good idea. No.
yeah. So like something like comedian, it's like, okay, let's have a few lines of organic conversation to spark the interest,
And
to
then, by
know
the way,
that like maybe I'll make you laugh, or maybe like we'll find a really common ground, like something that is interesting to both of us, and we'll both be a little bit engaged. And then at some point, I mean, career should never be within the first few lines of convo. If it is, it's fucking shallow. You know what I
well,
mean?
yes and no. I agree with you, but in our world of
Okay.
comedy, it's such a, especially you. I know how ambitious and motivated you are. It's a big part of your relationship. It's a big part of
Listen,
your
you're a
personal.
lawyer. You can, of course, you're going to say that. Like, oh, yeah, I have a law degree. Of course, you're going to say, But for just the lay comedian who just got back from a
Olay.
Zoom open mic, you know what I mean? It's not a good look. But I see what you're saying. Like, yeah, okay, I'm an established comedian. I've been on TV. But like, the thing is, especially in LA, nobody gives a shit.
In LA, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
100% agree with you on there. But like for me, in Chicago and I'm in Florida right now. I
yeah.
kind of say it because I don't want to waste anyone's time. If they're like,
Sure.
I go to bed at 10
Oh,
o'clock, I'm like, well,
right,
I will never see you because
right, right, right.
I'm a night owl. So
Well, no, Florida, tell them you're a comedian right off the bat. Florida is like, whoa, a comedian?
nah, it hasn't been working out that way, but that's okay. I've been pretty busy. So, but okay, so you had the 3.5 year relationship through Tinder. So
Yeah,
obviously you're not opposed to meeting someone online.
no,
Right
not at
now,
all.
obviously, we're all in a fucked up situation where we're trying
Right.
to figure out what's going to happen, what our next steps are. Um, but you do want to be in a relationship, obviously, right? Eventually, or
Yeah,
no?
yeah. I'm like, the thing is, I'm in no rush. I've been in so many great relationships. I know this is gonna sound like really dark, but it's like I could die right now and look back and be like, I had enough. I had so many great relationships.
Yeah,
But yes, at some point I do want to be, it would be nice to be with somebody for a good amount of time, maybe indefinitely. Like I'm not necessarily like set on getting married. I'm not necessarily set on having a family, but I'm open to all of those things.
yeah,
But I'm not like actively searching. I don't like I want a partner. Like I hear a lot of people like, I need a partner. Like, listen, if I meet somebody who I connect with really well, but it only works out for like a year or two, that's fine too. I'm
yeah.
not in a rush, and I also know my worth, and I know the value of my time. So I'm only interested in something that's genuine and that feels good on both ends. And I don't feel like I need to actively seek it.
Right.
I know it'll come to me when it comes.
I feel like you're a good example of a person when I see you and I've worked with you and I see what you're doing. You're personally fulfilled, and your growth has gone so much since I first met you, in the sense that you're doing so much. You've got this success that I feel like if you were in a serious relationship, that might have been stifled. Do you think that's the case, or do you think having a
Yeah,
partner with you helped you a little bit, or had no effect whatsoever?
it actually goes both ways. First of all, I sacrificed a lot to be here, like a lot of relationships, a few
Absolutely.
in particular. But also there were times where I felt like the stability of being in a relationship made me more productive and efficient and focused than when I was just single. Because I did have, a couple years where I was just single and like constantly dating and just going out, buying rounds of drinks. Nothing like crazy, not like rock star crazy in any sense, but just like really spending a lot of time, whining and dining with randoms who I never ended up,
Right.
actually going forward with. And it was fun. And I learned a lot about myself, and I got to like meet a lot of different kinds of people, which I think is everybody should have some kind of phase like that. But
Hmm.
I remember specifically that era, I was so not productive
Yeah.
versus sometimes when I was in relationships, even if we take some like nights off to be together and stuff, I would still have like a lot of time where I was really focused because I wasn't constantly swiping. I wasn't,
Yeah.
get trying to get past that first and second date with somebody to where we could actually go further. It wasn't like a game,
Yeah.
it's like you have it, like first dates, second dates, there's a lot of energy
Yeah.
those consume, but when you're with someone for a while, you kind of get to that, what homeostasis or whatever it is, and it allows you to be productive. So I've seen both sides of the spectrum, and I know, and that's why I know that if you find the right person, they will give you the space to be as productive as you need to be, as long as you do like take care of their needs.
Yeah. I got to look up homeostasis to see if you use it right in that
Yeah, look it
sentence.
up. Homeostasis.
I
It's
know what it
that
means, but I
bang
don't know
on.
if that was accurate. But we'll let it slide. Um, do you feel like that stability that you were talking about when you're in a relationship? Do you think that you is it had to do more the fact with where you didn't have to entertain somebody, or because they like brought something to the table that helped you, focus on your career? And act
Well,
like that person's not going to hear this podcast. So go ahead and answer
oh,
it.
I mean, I don't care. I mean, I have good. I'm actually friends with all my exes, and they're all
Same.
like great people. We have really good relationships,
Does
post
that does that
relationships.
make sense
So
what I'm asking? But yeah, go ahead.
yeah, it's really like you can tell when somebody's supportive of what you do, and I've had relationships where they're like undyingly supportive, and they'll like kind of like let me do whatever I want. And I've had more where they're like, I'm supportive, but like you need to make time for me, and both are important. Like the thing
Right.
is, I've been in relationships where I took advantage too much of them being so supportive that I didn't give them enough time, and it ended up wearing on the relationship.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I've been in some that like I felt like held me back a little bit too much,
Right.
like more than I wanted, and it just wasn't the right time. It was like I needed to be out like 7 nights a week, but I wasn't able to at that time.
1,000 nights in a row or 1,001 nights in a
Yeah,
row.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
That
remember
happened.
that.
Yeah.
Um, See, that's like that brings me back to the point where when I was in a relationship, people are they're very supportive early on, but at some point, dating a comedian when you're not a comedian, or you don't have your own personal ambition, it's hard. It's hard to date a
Yeah.
comedian,
Right.
and that's where it's a no-win situation to me in a relationship, because either they're not going to be supportive and you're fighting, or you have that guilt that you're like, shit, I just took this last minute gig when we were supposed to have our anniversary dinner or whatever.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's a,
So
it's a, it is very difficult dating a comedian, and that's why if anybody understands that, that's why you don't tell them right off the bat you're a comedian.
that's another reason to hide that. Good
Yeah.
answer. Have you
Yeah.
dated other comedians before?
I've dated a few comedians, yeah, and it's cool. It's interesting. It's like a interesting experience. Yeah, I think every comic should go through it at some point. It's kind of a cool experience, but not for me in terms of like a long run. I would
Yeah.
rather have somebody who does something completely different, and we can like complement each other in
What
that
are
sense.
the things that you think you would be a perfect situation in terms of dating? Whether it's what have you learned on these dates in your
Mhm.
last relationships, as to what they do, or what you need, or if it's easier to answer the way I look at it when people ask me what I want versus what I know what I don't want, and then I
Mhm.
go from there to see what's left. Or do you just go
You,
what you want?
Sure. Yeah, I mean it is a broad question, and I would never like want to limit myself to one kind of person or profession. But I think that the common underlying factor is that it's best when they love what they're doing as well.
Right. They have their own ambition and their own shit going on.
Yeah, because the relationships where I felt the most stress and drama is when they hated their job, and the fact that I loved mine and
Yeah.
wanted to put so much into it, it made them resistant to it.
Sure.
Yeah.
People don't understand like that we do this. We're not doing it for the money.
Right.
It's a
Right.
different dog. You said earlier that you know your worth, so you don't want to. I assume you mean you're not going to waste your time on certain
Yeah.
situations. What are
Yeah.
those? what have you learned in dates, or just that you've learned on your own, where you're like, I'm not going to do that again, or
That's a good question. I think that like I just know that I don't need to go like on a bunch of dates and pretend that I'm somebody. Um, because we all do that to a degree. Every first date, you're doing a little bit of best version of yourself, slightly adapting to what you think they like. We all do it. Like everybody does it, even if it's to a tiny degree. And that's okay. I just don't think I want to be doing a lot of that. Like I
yeah,
don't, if I meet someone and they're like, say for instance, it's like a physical thing. They're like beautiful, and I'm like, this person is like so beautiful, but like we don't, our personalities clearly do not click.
yeah,
But like if we go on a few dates and I kind of like pretend to be the best version of myself for them, I'm sure that we will like, date for a while, hook up, whatever, and that would be awesome because they're beautiful.
right,
But I like that to me is not, it used to be very interesting. I mean, it's interesting to every
yeah,
guy
of
at some
course,
point, and women too, certainly. I can't speak for women, but I can speak for men that like a lot of men spend their whole lives in that kind of phase.
well, that's the
Yeah.
thing. And I have a new joke about that too, where it's nice getting older, especially now that my dick doesn't run my life anymore. Like if I
Right.
was with a
Right.
beautiful woman, a great
Right.
example is I'm here in Florida, and you go on those apps, and then there's beautiful women that are like all in on
Right.
Donald Trump, and you're like, I mean, 25-year-old me would be like, she's interested. You've got to swipe. But like,
Right.
me now, I'm like, I can't even. How can you go through a whole conversation? I mean, just because of what we're dealing with this week or last 4 years,
Right.
how can you justify that? I mean, it'll feel good, but it's just so hard to like. Your dick is like basically saying it's okay, just do it, see what happens. Like,
Right. And let's say enough time goes by where I'm like, I just really need to get on a date. Like, yeah, like a situation like that, sure.
yeah,
But like yeah, that's neither here nor there. And I just feel like like there was a time period of time where
yeah.
I definitely, I
I,
think like, yeah.
I like that about me though too. I like being single and older because you make much better decisions where you're just like,
Sure.
it's not even worth going on a first date because
Right. Right.
it's not. I mean, I'm using that as an extreme example. Are there other things that like are deal breakers for you? Are there any deal breakers for you where you're like, even if they're physically attractive, or maybe it's a physical thing?
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, they're like kind of they're like semi deal breakers. Like, if they have enough really good qualities, like I'll obviously blind sign some
sure.
things.
Okay. What are
But
those?
when those qualities aren't there, I have like a lot of deal breakers.
Okay.
Um,
What are
so
those? Give me some examples.
sure. So, for instance, somebody who like is um, I don't know. I guess I don't know the best, like the nicest way of saying it, but like just not smart at all. Like I
Yeah.
guess like there's different kinds of intelligence. Everybody has intelligence.
Sure.
So to say that somebody's not smart is dumb to say because everybody is intelligent in a way. But like I do have a lot of like book smarts. So
Yeah, you
like
do.
academic, like like
Right.
math. They don't have to be good at math, but like we have to connect on some kind of intellectual level if that makes sense.
Like if they didn't know the square root of pi or something, you'd be like, out.
No, it's totally fine if they're not good at math. Because I'm a math guy, right?
I
But
know.
like,
I know.
say they're not good at math, but like they are a grammar nerd, or they love history,
Yeah.
or they love science. Like, just I want to be able to talk about like one of those things,
Sure.
because all those things are super interesting to me.
Some
So
sort of formal education as opposed to
yeah,
just whatever. No,
yeah,
that makes sense. And I think that's important to be on the same page in that level too. So my uncle
right.
told me that a while ago. Here's something I ask a lot, we're both Middle Eastern. Do you date other, do you date women that are Middle Eastern, or you tend to steer away from that?
Honestly, I don't know if I've dated any Middle Eastern women.
I, I'm the same way, but go ahead.
Yeah. I would love to. Like, I would love to date a Middle Eastern Arab American woman, but it just hasn't happened for whatever reason. I mean, I think part of the reason is upbringing. Like,
Yeah.
I was raised in a super like liberal, progressive, kind of non-traditional family,
Really?
and a lot of the like Arab American women I mean are raised very traditionally, so there's like a culture clash.
Yeah.
Also, I'm not a practicing Muslim. I have Muslims in my family, but like,
Right.
sometimes, I'll meet someone right off the bat, like, well, you would have to convert. I'm like, well, that's just kind of a very sudden thing to say on a first date.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's weird that
So, yeah,
I didn't, you said you had a progressive liberal background. That's very rare in our community, in
it
the Middle
is.
East community.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and that's why I just feel like growing up and even now I just don't necessarily identify. Like, I have a lot of love for my culture, and I perform for my culture. I'm connected with a lot of people from my culture, but like I just don't feel a lot of their relatability on a, like, first of all, like a romantic, like, or like a dating level, just because of familiarity. So for that reason, it just never has happened. But like, man, I would love to date a Middle
yeah.
Eastern American woman, or Middle Eastern, for straight for the Middle
Whatever.
East.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just go straight there. You can pick them up. Are
Yeah.
you, a lot of options there. Are you the kind of guy that, like, because I know a lot of comedians, we talked about this with a couple of guests before, that are comedians where that the date is going bad, or after the first date, like they say something that you're like is a deal breaker. Do you
Right.
do you end it right there, or do you kind of still have that comedic instinct where you're like, well, I want them to still like me, like, or do you
I
just
think at
say,
this point in my life, I would probably end it pretty quickly. Like,
how do you have
I
you
don't
done
like being,
that? Have you
yeah,
done?
I don't like being rude to anybody on any level. There was only one date that I literally ended like abruptly. Every other time, even if I knew it wasn't working, I would stay in for at least for like a few hours, just out of like respect, and because I had, at the time I felt like I had the time to do stuff like that. Like, I was like, yeah, whatever. I want to learn about myself and learn about this person. But there was one time
Yeah.
where she showed up. She was drunk already, and
Jesus.
by the time her shoes came off, I was like, I'm out of here. Like, we gotta go.
Her shoes came off?
Yeah, her shoes. She took off her shoes. She was walking barefoot in the street. And listen, we've all been there, but just like not on a first date. Not, you know,
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I've never done that. I don't think we've all been there, but that's fine. So how did you end it? You're like, you should probably go home but not drive. Or did you
I
just
dropped her off at her. I dropped her off at her car, and I just said, "Don't drive. Just stay in your car for a few hours."
and we don't know where she is now.
No, 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 no. Actually, I still talk to her every now and then.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
She follows. She's a fan, actually. She follows me. But like, yeah, it was like, okay, the right thing is the most gentlemanly thing to do would be like, hey, I'm gonna stay with you. But it was already midnight.
Yeah.
I had something the next day. It's not my responsibility to babysit you. You
Right.
know what I mean? You don't live here in this city. You're not coming back with me.
Right.
So you're gonna have to stay in your car until you get better and drive home.
Yeah. Well, wait a minute. The date started at midnight?
No, we started the date after my
No, I
show
know.
around 9.
Yeah, that's
So
what
by the
I figured.
time she was super sloppy at midnight, yeah.
The things we have to do to meet people as comedians. Late night dates, and it's harder on the road too because things aren't open. The only things open after shows in Florida are Waffle House, and IHOP isn't even open anymore. So
Right, right. I've been on a few Waffle House dates.
it's not bad. It's pretty good.
Yeah, yeah.
Good food. Well, Sammy, I really appreciate you coming on. I know you're busy and coming on to the podcast. I've been trying to get you on for some time, so I'm glad you got to do it. Go back and do your 6 podcasts and your 6 shows. I know you're busy. Sammy, where can people find out more about you and your upcoming stuff that you have going on?
Yeah, you can get me on the socials at Sammy Obeid, or my website, sammyko.com. Or if you want to check out any of the virtual offerings that we're doing, it's kocomedy.com. And we have shows every weekend, Friday through Sunday. And you've been on them, they're a lot of fun.
Yeah, they're so fun.
Awesome. And we have, we're rolling out like a bunch of podcasts and other kinds of shows too. So throughout the week, we're doing virtual stuff. So come check it out, kocomedy.com.
Please do that. And then everyone check out Sammy Obeid. He's hilarious. Go back and watch his Conan clip. I still love it. I was so proud of you to do that. Sammy Obeid, thank you so much. Thank you all for listening to another edition of Signals Only Podcast.
by now you know that I'm a lawyer, right? Everyone does. And I don't really practice anymore, although I still have a license. But when I need a lawyer, and I do often need a lawyer, I contact my friend Scott Shapiro. If you're injured on the job or need compensation, you're entitled to payment for more than you know. A lot of times, companies will try to settle with you so you don't get a lawyer because they don't want you to know all the monies you're entitled to. Scott Shapiro has been helping injured workers for over 20 years. In addition, his firm handles multiple other cases, including personal injury cases and entertainment law issues. He has handled a lot of my entertainment stuff as well as those of guests on the show and listeners. So you need a lawyer, sure, you can consult me. But if you want a free consultation from the best, don't take any chances. Contact my friend, Scott Shapiro. His number, 312-648-8800, or check out his website, scottshapirolegal.com. There are other Scott Shapiros. Make sure you call the right one, 312-648-8800, or scottshapirolegal.com. Tell him I sent you, and he will be very happy.